Here we are, another Hot Topic Tuesday. It is, what day is it? The 10th of February. So we're 5 weeks in, and I'm looking out the Clarkston weather window as I put it here, and it's supposed to be warm, but I haven't been out there yet, so we'll see. Hopefully everybody's having some great production. I see some of my business development series peeps, and I'll tell you, great things are happening for these guys as they're out and actually putting into practices that we're teaching in that business development series. But today, we're going to talk some of the fun stuff. As you can see it, and we may use this title again in the future, is Real Estate Gone Wrong. In this case, we're going to talk about vacant residential listings. Most importantly, this time of year, and then the actual insights from others' experiences. So I'm going to bring you two that others have actually had and not pleasant experiences. So here's what we're going to do today. The vacant land listings, the risks, the potentials. We're going to look at one, probably two scenarios that came from what we'll call the anatomy of a failed transaction. Key mistakes and red flags. What's the responsibilities? What are the legal considerations? How do we handle these things? But what I'm just hoping for is that in the end, we've got lessons learned from going through these and what would be best practices to make sure that we are in place. So, vacant residential listing, buying and then the selling risk. Let's talk about it. And I'll tell you, I'll share with you openly, there's a few things that we know about vacant residential listings. So there's the potential vandalism, theft. We know that there's deterioration of the property because there's a difference with somebody being in that home all the time and knows where they're not. Insurance complications. It's a key factor to what's going on. The impact on the sale of the property. People start reading in. They can see that the property is not maintained. Besides that, guys, I want you to think of it this way. It's cold outside. So let's talk about a vacant land listing right now, this time of year. What's the experiences that you've had or heard of a vacant residential home?
Well, the furnace could stop and then you get broken pipes, or the furnace is just really low.
Guess what happened to me? The furnace. Well, here, home's finally sold. This is personal experience. This just came up yesterday. Home sold, inspections done on Thursday. Of course, they inspect the furnace. Furnace cover was not replaced. Think of that door comes off. Does the furnace operate? It's a safety feature, right? They don't want people getting hands into moving fans or flames or anything else, so the furnace shuts off. Now it's been how cold? Since Thursday? I get a contractor / handyman to show up yesterday morning who gives me a call and says, guess what? It's cold in here. And he sends me a picture of the furnace with that door sitting on the ground and a little water dripping from a doorway. What's right above that doorway? The bathtub on the second floor. So see, the furnace wasn't operating. And thank God my buddy David showed up when he did. As it appears right now that we had a little copper joint that separated and was just kind of, you could imagine, because it was still connected, pipe didn't burst, but there was a little mist where it started to separate. And of course, a lot of it was able to freeze. So we didn't have any drywall damage or anything else. We replaced that joint and it was good. What's a good lesson to learn from that? What should we potentially do with a vacant home during the winter?
You got to
Check
go
on
over there occasionally and run the water.
We need to go over there and check on the property. Number one is what I want you to really catch, and especially when we get the coldest of temperatures. And I didn't even think about this. I mean, my guy has been going over there, but you think somebody was just there, everything's fine, the house is really very good condition. But what might we do? Because as Linda brought up, and I've just experienced it, and by the way, I experienced it years ago when I was selling in Muskegon. So that was 30 plus years ago. The furnace just stopped for no reason at all. It quit working, like Linda just brought up. What might we want to do with the water in a vacant listing almost any time of year when you get down to it, but definitely in the winter?
let them drip.
Turn it off is the best thing. So yeah, Holly, you hit it. A little drip is not bad, but I don't want to give a bad impression. So I'm going to say we turn it off. And even better yet is a minimum, go to the lowest point where there's a faucet and drain it. So, yep, Kevin just brought that up. Drain it. See, that way, if the furnace does stop, well, if you just turn the water off, we should have minimum damage, right? But if we drain it, then we are giving any water that is in a line the opportunity to actually expand fitting the pipe, and thus hopefully avoiding all potential damage. So that was just something, and here it is, my 38 years of experience, and why I didn't tell my seller, hey, maybe we should just turn the water off. The only thing you have to have typically is the water on for an appraisal, especially if it's FHA, VA.
Hey, Darwin,
Okay. Yes,
And
sir.
inspections.
I ran into another situation showing a house for a buyer. We went in and it was a vacant property, and it had just, the unfortunate part, it had just been renovated inside. But when we got in, we heard running water, like a lot of it. Walked into the kitchen, the drywall in the ceiling had fallen. The bathroom in the upstairs was overflowing for I don't know how long. So we had to go turn the water off very quickly and then call the listing agent and say, you've got a problem over here, just to let him know what was going on. But, with the water on in a vacant home, anything can happen.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I see Angie and Elizabeth over there in Ann Arbor. Ask Howard, my buddy Howard, about what his experience was with, I think it was a condo where the furnace quit working. He had ice that basically filled the kitchen. It became a huge ice maker.
I was just telling Angie that I was in a house where the pipes had ruptured, and I had walked into this house and it was just sheets of ice all on the walls, all on the ceilings. We call them popsicle houses. I guess there is actually a term for it, but yeah, that's happened.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Darwin?
yeah, hold that thought, man. Yeah, go ahead,
Darwin,
Terry.
how do you feel? The reason I'm
Oh.
bringing this up is because, like Holly said, drip, and that's kind of what I did in my home. I had listed it, and I must have had at least 30 showing requests. And the difficulty is buyers go in and use the bathroom. So one of my things that I've kind of come to is maybe recommending to the sellers they get a thermostat that they can watch the heat offline. I know that's not always the best, but when you winterize the home, and how do you deal with these buyers that use the bathroom?
You got to put a tape on the toilets and say, do not
That's
use
it.
the water's off.
Yep.
You can also put it in your
Off, do not
listing.
use toilets. Go ahead, Alika.
You can put it on the like showing time notes that the home is winterized, so there's no water. I mean, a lot of the times seller or agents don't even look at that, but at least you can be proactive about it.
Right, absolutely. And yeah, I strongly recommend what Deanna brought up with the tape over the toilet. Terry, you've been waiting there patiently.
Oh, I was just going to mention, I went to a showing with another agent, and the listing agent did not have anything cleared, like the snow removal. So the client got stuck, the other agent got stuck. We spent the whole time getting unstuck, and the client didn't even want to go in the house after that. So
Yeah, I was going to mention that Larry has a listing now, and we've sent people out there 3 times, and it's very, very difficult to find people that will do one driveway or a sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
So we've been just using people we know, and paying them as we go. But that's a very difficult thing to find because the big
Yeah.
plow companies don't want to do it.
Absolutely right.
Darwin,
Absolutely.
this is
Jess,
Susan.
go ahead.
This
Okay.
is
Let me
Susan
get
from
Jess here.
Darwin
She's been
office.
waiting
I wanted
patiently
to
too.
mention that this isn't just a winter problem. So I was showing a home that it was an estate sale, right? And so it was vacant. The problem was, in this case, the agent, so there was this constant drip, told the agent about it, went back for a second showing for somebody else like a while later, and there's mold all over. My problem was with the agent because the agent lived far enough away, told her, and she just said because it's an estate sale, there's nobody really looking at it for it. And it's like, oh, I can't get down there. It was just a matter of turning the water off. We did so, taking a listing that's far away, you have responsibilities too, to make sure it just sold for like so cheap. Like it was just a giveaway. And then even if somebody wants to do any kind of rehab or remodel, you've got mold, right? So who
You
wants
got
to
it.
deal with that? So it's not just a winter problem, and it's also, there's the owner, and then of course agents try, and then, I wouldn't take a listing that's like, 50 miles away from me for that very reason.
Well, here's one additional thought that I'll give you in regards to this particular listing, and then we'll hit the Richmond office here. Um, we need there's a lot of people that are doing different things in regards to being able to buy a new home. So we're finding more people are putting their home on the market to then go and buy. And some people are fortunate enough that they can qualify for the home they're purchasing, so that the advantage being they don't have to be in a hurry. They can take the time that they need to be able to find the home that they want. Well, the situation that I have was one where we've now been out there for about 4 or 5 months, and it's taken the time to find the right buyer, get the seller into the right frame of mind with the right price, and of course the costs of carrying and all the things that we've put here. There's also that we have to then make sure people understand the risk of doing buy and then sell versus sell and buy. It's got to work for them either way, but it's just we need to know what all of those are. Let's see, Richmond, what did you have for us?
Excuse me, go now. Okay. In Richmond, I learned this many, many years ago. You can go to the hardware store and there's a special light bulb that you can buy, put it in a lamp in the window in your listing that's vacant. And if the heat goes out, the light turns on. So all you have to do is drive by, there's a problem, or ask the neighbor to keep an eye on it. And I have caught a couple houses before there was a problem because the light went on and it shouldn't be on because nobody was there. It's a very simple solution to keep an eye on a winter property in the winter.
I like that because not everybody's going to be able to go out and afford to buy what do I say, a Nest or a Ecobee where you can connect through the internet. And not always do we leave the internet up and running at a vacant listing. So that could be a simple one to be able to do, so you don't have to do all that other stuff. Danny, did you have something for us?
Yeah, here's another issue that can happen. This is a couple years ago. I was doing an open house and the property was vacant and it was winter. And guess what was in the basement in the back? And I did not see it, but I held the open house and everybody came running up, but there were dead mice. So when you have a vacant house, mice want warmth. They come in, there's no food, they die. But it was a learning experience for me to check all the rooms before you have the open house or before you have somebody come in, because there could be dead mice or an animal for that matter. It could be a squirrel
Yeah.
that got in or something.
They like the warmth. They're coming on in. So it's amazing when we talk about it like this with the, here we got 39 of us on plus. Boy, the experiences we've got and the things that we can share because it's cold. So just it was that experience hit me. And again, I was very fortunate that we didn't have further damage and that the timing and all worked out. So there's benefits, there's pitfalls. There's just the decision making that we've got to work with that. And that's the bottom line, but I want to keep going on that. All right. Here's the great scenario, guys. This is a one for everybody because it's, boy, is there learning in this one. Let me just hit it. So I've changed the names to protect the innocent. First thing I have, agency agreement is signed, it's got executed with the buyer. So the agent is now clearly representing the buyer. There's an offer written, it's cash, offers accepted, and inspection is performed. All of this is done. And then when it comes to the earnest money deposit, it's been collected, but the check bounces. I'll tell you, the seller was advised. EMD collected a second time, bounced. And then there were extensions to the PA without an earnest money deposit still. So the seller's accepting the extensions without an earnest money deposit, knowing that 2 checks have bounced. Whoops. Then they were buying personal property, thousands of dollars of personal property that the buyer wrote a check for. Title company is trying to go, gee, what's going on? Because now that's a 3rd check that's bounced. Title company says, hey, can we get a verification that this check is even real? Which it was. And then they found out that there was only $1 in this buyer's account, paying cash for a very expensive home. Well, here was the next part. Proof of funds. Never got it. Cash deal, never received proof of funds. Neither the agent nor the seller requested proof of funds. The deal does not close. The buyer basically never had the money, it appeared that the buyer never had the capability to even buy, to even write an offer. There was a claim that he was going to get his money out of, we'll call it other holdings. So if you've ever wondered why do we tell someone that you need to get the proof of funds? Why is it that I say don't collect an EMD after the inspection has been cleared? It's because we're going to forget about collecting it, one. But then what do you do when a check bounces? So here's my question. Who's responsible for the end result of this? Will we blame it on the listing agent or the buyer agent? Will we blame it on the seller?
Blame it on yourself.
Who do you think is responsible? Danny?
Blame it on yourself. Whoever you're representing, you need to be in charge of the whole deal and making sure everything comes through, not just one-sided.
That is the answer. Guys, when we point the finger somewhere else, there's the old saying that when you point, there's at least 2 or 3 pointing back at the person who's really responsible. Last week we were talking about the thing with the FinCEN and, what is that? Well, we're not responsible for it, but the only thing we need to do is to have our thumb on it to make sure that the buyer actually completes the information that the settlement agency needs to complete that. Well, this is the same thing. This is stay on top of it. But the bottom line becomes, the question even of specific performance. So I want you to just, I found this in quotes, and I thought, well, I'll just make it and own it myself. Prompt collection of the earnest money deposits and the proof of funds is essential to uphold the contractual protections for both the buyer and the seller, and in this situation, prevent failed purchase agreements, failed transactions. It's not what we're looking for. So again, I put it, if you've ever wondered why we ask for it, why we want it, it doesn't matter which side you're on. Oh, by the way, let's throw something else in this one that's interesting. The seller's agent was the buyer's agent. Dual agency, all done correctly. But question is should that have been done that way? Should the listing agent have actually signed on to represent the buyer? If you're wondering about that one and you weren't on with us a couple weeks back with dual agency, it's up in the HRC Agent Development channel now. It's under the 2026 Hot Topic Tuesday. I would suggest going back and looking at that one. That was a 90-minute plus Hot Topic Tuesday, if you're wondering what kind of involvement and questions we had with that and what came up. So bottom line, guys, we've got to get those. If not, bottom line, you're going to want to remove it. Either get it or remove it. My thought, you can't get it, remove it from the purchase agreement, but now know in a case like this where it's cash, we better have the proof of funds. But then the question is, are you going to extend it? Is the seller going to agree to extend it? This was one where when you think dual agency, boy, what a mess that could be, right? Any thoughts, any questions from this part?
Would the seller have recourse to sue the buyers then? Because they
Wow.
defaulted.
What a great question, Holly. The answer would be yes, and it's called, what's the term?
Failure to
Specific
perform.
performance. So really with this situation, it's like, what are the fiduciary responsibilities? Because we now know dual agency, it was limited. Frankly, it complicated how this would work out. I would tell you that the seller wanted us to sue the buyer for specific performance. They also said, well, you should go to your errors and omissions because there was a failed opportunity. They were reaching out for all the different things that could go on to be able to get money out of this. And it got complicated because it was a dual agency situation. Agent did everything that they could communicating with the seller. So there wasn't an issue in regards to the accountability of the funds. One of our fiduciary responsibilities, I think I got that here, yeah. Reasonable care, accountability. I told you, we haven't got it. And seller, you still, with that knowledge, decided to extend the purchase agreement 2 or 3 times before we finally gave up on this buyer. So Danny hit it. We're responsible as agents in the end to just make sure that all things happen. And to me, the real key on this one, how do you guide two parties? You simply tell the truth and everything is going on, which is really what was done with this transaction. Get the proof of funds, get the earnest money deposit. We don't want to mess up on those things, becomes the bottom line. The specific performance part, Holly, for those who've not heard the term, for those that have, we'll give clarification. As it puts here, it's, well, I'm going to put it in my own words. You guys can read. It's exactly what the term says. I'm going to sue for you to perform specifically to the terms of the purchase agreement. Okay? But Darwin, there was no earnest money deposit. Don't you need earnest money deposit to make it binding? Nope. So there's a binding agreement. First part is the buyer was in breach of contract because they didn't live up to the terms of the contract with earnest money deposit. They didn't provide that. Well, they made a cash offer. Contingencies met. They just couldn't live up to the terms of being able to pay cash. They didn't have the money to close. Could the seller sue for specific performance? Yes. But can you get blood from a turnip? So for all of us, live and learn. We need to make sure that we actually do get earnest money deposits and that we do get proof of funds and that we should get proof of funds either side of the transaction. But it is common, oddly enough, that I have seen purchase agreements accepted, and we as agents, and I'll tell you, I've been guilty of it. And then I slapped my hand afterward, and thank God that I got lucky enough that they had the capability, that they had the funds. But we're having sellers accept offers without proof of funds. Not a good thing, right? Not a good thing. Lessons learned, collect it, get the deposit in there. We know that we've got all the things right now that will make sure that we can track it, that we've got it, everything's covered. Our accounting department is phenomenal. We got one of the best, if not the best. Documentation, provide the receipts, make sure that they got it. Look for the possibility of doing a digital form of earnest money. We know that they can actually do that, and there's a nominal fee. I think it's $15. That might be the best way to be able to make sure that you actually are receiving an earnest money deposit. So was it the buyer agent, the listing agent, or the seller? If you're in a court of law, what do you think? I got to tell you, outside of the buyer being in breach, there's things that the listing agent might have done better, what we as a brokerage might have done better. And yet, could the seller have made better decisions? Yeah. Man, it's like we should have started questioning whether or not this person had the capability when they had to go for the first extension. Okay. So look for the red flags, look for the anomalies, and address those things. It's the proactive part of legal risk management, or folks, just risk management, period. Both to cover our own backside and those of our clients, buyers and sellers. And a simple one, some of you have heard me provide this before, but there's an old Latin proverb that was "Anus protectus." Okay, good. Most of you got that one. I see the smiles. All right, let's talk about the second scenario. This one's going to be an interesting one. And if my friends want to jump in and discuss, let us know. But this is one I just want to share with you because an attorney got involved on a deal. And I just want to show you what the attorney provided. So let me see if I've got things set up right here to where it'll pop up for us. Yes. Now, I've, again, redacted things because I don't want to throw out addresses and names of the individuals that were involved, but I can show you the mess. So look past all of my black redactions and just look. Here's a nice, what I thought was a very clean, very nicely written offer. But look at all of what this attorney did on the seller's side of the transaction. It's like, are you trying to earn your money? Or how much do you make per hour? Because what you did is basically destroy the contract offer. And then on top of it, you basically rewrote one of your own. And how would you ever try to close this and call this a legal document and not have confusion? And you can see some of the things that they've written on here as described in the addendum. Are such funds acceptable to the closing agent? Nope, it had to be title company. This is the kind of stuff where it's just like, are you kidding me? Not 45 days, but it had to be 35 days. That is unconditional or that contains conditions seller approves of in writing. Some simple things, and if not addressed herein or an addendum, then it's like, how do you even interpret what was being written in here? Again, designated escrow agent, title company, crossing out an entire part of title evidence and survey, see the addendum, title objections, see an addendum. Now, this is our old purchase agreement, so I don't fault them for addressing that. Installments of any before the closing, crossing out something as simple as seller agrees to leave the property broom clean and free of debris and personal property. Why? How are you going to leave it? Anyway.
So where did the lawyer come in on all of this? Did the buyer take it to his lawyer before he signed it?
Well, it was an estate. And so because it was an estate, the personal representative is working with the lawyer who was reviewing everything. This is a sizable property. This was $1 million plus, if I remember correctly. So yeah, there was an attorney involved on the seller side. So and here again, I'll just keep you can see all of what they did in being able to get this set up. Totally crossing out and going, yeah, this has been redacted or eliminated. You just get an idea. I'll step to the side. You can gaze at that for a second.
Oh my God, that was a nightmare.
Oh, Deanna, you just confessed.
I did. And needless to say, it did not close. And they got another cash offer. And after spending 2 weeks on this, they took the cash offer and gave us the boot.
Because it never got, they were never able to come to terms. And I think one of the primary reasons that I wanted to bring this to you, and let me get to the last part, because this is what I was saying. This is what the addendum to the purchase agreement was that was prepared by the attorney on the seller's side. Because now, what do we do in representing a buyer when you've got an attorney involved who's made all of these proposed changes, a rejection to your offer and then a counter offer? What would you do, guys? Deanna, we won't tell them what we did, but what would you do?
But do we
Would
have a
you
corporate
continue to
attorney
work
that we
on the
can,
loan?
do we have a corporate attorney we can access and at least have an attorney talking to an attorney? Because my experience is attorneys aren't supposed to be talking to non-attorneys about these legal matters anyway, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that restricts them from being able to do that. And no, we don't have a corporate attorney on hand. But you just nailed it, because what we had to do is to say, look, with all of this, buyer, it would behoove you to actually get an attorney involved, because I can't give you this kind of legal counsel when you get this back from a seller and seller's attorney. And that's, if I remember right, Deanna, that is what the buyer ended up doing. And then it
Correct.
all fell apart.
Correct. We were
Yeah.
just about getting there, and then they got a cash offer.
So a lot of negotiation coming together, and then bang, it drops off. So I think that was the biggest thing that I wanted you to catch, was that, yes, most attorneys aren't going to create something like this. That I think they overcomplicated. They probably made a lot more money because they spent 2 hours putting this together, but and who knows how much else that was created during that time period where Deanna was negotiating. But what a mess with an attorney. And I would not be afraid to question what they're doing if I happen to be on the side where an attorney gets involved. It's just, I wanted you to be aware because of what we were talking about with real estate gone wrong. Because this is one where it could have went very, very simply, and it ended up working out for the seller, but bad for our client, the buyer. Anything else that you might throw out there, Deanna?
No, other than this was like, I don't know, a year ago. We're still,
Yeah.
she still doesn't have
Yeah.
a property, but yeah, no, it was just it was the guy that was working on it. The attorney was not even a good attorney. He was old. He was out of business. He was just, I think, wasting time and money because they had a open check, I think, for the estate. And it complicated even more. It was a dog kennel, and they had dogs in the kennel, and they didn't know how to run it, and it was just a complete nightmare.
Wow. So,
But
beware. That was my message behind presenting this particular one, is so that we would be able to see that and how that would work. But know this also. I think any purchase agreement that you see will actually recommend that they seek legal counsel. And what do we know? Probably 95, 98% of them don't. And typically there's no need to. We're simply filling in the blanks, and there's no real need for legal counsel. And if we do, they often decide to start earning their money, and or at least they think they are, and they screw up a deal where you've heard me say, get out of the way and let it happen. Yes, know our fiduciary responsibilities, live up to those, and put the deal together. You got a buyer who wants to buy, a seller who wants to sell. Make it work for them. Make it work if it's to work. Anything anybody's got? Anything else?
I have another question. This is not on this topic, but is there any liability of an agent that takes care of his or her listing while a property is vacant? So hypothetically, let's say this is vacant property, another estate sale I had, and it was during the summer
So
months, right?
vacant residential home?
Correct. And I
Okay.
had to maintain the pool because, like snow removal, pool guys won't come out to put chlorine in a pool if you don't hire them for the season and that kind of thing. So I had to go out there every week and dump chlorine in the pool. And I was just wondering, what if something happened, like I spilled it and ruined something, or what is the liability of an agent maintaining some sort of property on their own, and they happen to break something or ruin something, you know?
I would be certain that, well, as an example, in a purchase agreement, it states that as the in the purchase agreement that we would be responsible for any damage. That meaning the buyer, the agent, the brokerage for any damage that occurred during an inspection. From an aspect of legal terms, when you're holding a house open and somebody does a slip and fall on the ice on the sidewalk, it goes to who's in possession. And possession is not who owns the property, but possession is who
Is responsible.
offered that invitation to enter.
Got it.
So as agents, we're responsible. So without knowing a specific clause on the listing contract, I can tell you that it says, seller, we don't do this. You have to make sure you take care of your property because we're not going to go visit it. But if I would have to think verbally, you say, I'm going to take care of it, you're probably going to have some responsibility for that because you said I would.
Okay.
I,
So I would be, as much as I hate to say it, I would be wary of doing so.
Darwin, Darwin, don't you think it is the responsibility of the seller's agent, if they have an unoccupied property, it is their responsibility to make sure everything is cleared, everything is working. I am taking care of a property right now. I have an inspection on Thursday. I went to the house today to put in the radon, and the whole front walk is like from the melting ice is
Mhm.
a sheet of ice. My responsibility, the owners aren't there, is to get
Well, but
and get that covered.
yeah, but there still need to be responsible for that. But if you were holding an open house, you would accept responsibility for that sidewalk.
But aren't I responsible anyway right now? So if
The
somebody spill
the
slips and
listing
falls,
contract is going to say, seller, it's your job to maintain this property. We don't do it.
Hey, Darwin, what happens if somebody goes and looks at the property and then they inform you it's vacant and everything? They inform you later, hey, the house is infested with fleas.
Well, I'm gonna go, hey, seller, I just had a report that your house is full of fleas. You need to clean that up, and I'm gonna hold showing or put a hold on showings until it's all taken care of.
Well, the seller moved out of state, so
So
it took us three
would
times
would
to
I
bomb
say,
the
would you like
house.
me to make a few recommendations for pest companies?
Okay.
I think there's the aspect that we have to be careful in regards to the level of service that we like to provide and the acceptance of responsibility because of the services that we do.
Same with
So,
grass mowing and all that stuff.
right. Yep. Because if you've hired them, you're kind of taking responsibility. And as a matter of fact, what if the lawn and maintenance company is cutting the grass, doing a great job, and then they apply fertilizer and it was, oops, they screwed up and now the whole lawn is dead.
Exactly. And that kind of happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here, when it comes down to it, what is the court of law going to decide? I don't know, but I don't want to be the one that gets sued. And by taking on that responsibility, I'm accepting that risk. And that's where I want to try to stay back away from that.
I also had that issue with a lease. I had a lease that was signed and executed and done, and the tenants couldn't move in for an extended amount of time. And on that lease, it said you had to maintain the property. So the grass was getting super long. I had to send somebody over to mow it, and the mower screwed up and put big, huge tire tracks in the lawn, and the owners were extremely upset. So even in a lease, you're kind of in a issue there.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of going through the chat session because I wasn't watching too closely to that. But yeah, the aspect of reminding that you may want to consult an attorney. There's a paragraph automatically in our purchase agreement to be able to do that. Marked up, such as I do a verbal remind. Yeah. So when you, and I think, Carrie, that's what my message was, in being able to show Deanna's deal that fell apart and the involvement of an attorney. Guys, when it gets as complicated as what that one was, our recommendation is that our buyer client does seek legal counsel to address what another attorney is putting out there. That's just too many changes, and I don't want to be accused of practicing law. And that is what I really believe. So, yeah, but one of the things, Marjorie, you put it here, there should be vacant property insurance. A homeowner, and that's part of the risk that we had on one of the slide. I didn't put it out there, it's just on the slide. The insurance cost for a vacant property is going to be high. The premium itself, and then what are they going to do for a deductible? I can share with you the one that I've experienced previously. They said, hey, what's the highest deductible that I can take? Because I'm only going to have this for a couple months. $5,000.
Wow.
So you don't count on it, but something can happen. So you have a higher premium, and just to be able to minimize it, they go with a higher deductible because I shouldn't have an issue. But it happens.
Okay.
Umbrella is another opportunity for that. I've got an investor that's what they did. They have one that covers all properties in a different structure. So good insurance agent will help you with all of that stuff. What happens if the flea bomb starts the house on fire? Guys, that's why it's, look, here's a couple of companies that I found that takes care of, that infestation, insects, whatever it may be. I don't want to go in there and just place a couple of, insect bombs. Because what if? Well, there's just so many things that can happen. And as Jamie, what happens if the flea bomb starts the house on fire? Well, hopefully the can doesn't blow up, but you got to read. And I don't look, if I can buy this on a shelf, I'm the kind of guy that just goes, okay, shake it, press. And then I'm going to get out of the house and hope it still exists when I come back, right? I think we all need to know how we are. But Bob put it out here, vacant property addendum. And again, that's why I was emphasizing, I don't want to confuse vacant land with a vacant property, a vacant residential home. So anyway, good stuff. Guys, what else you got? Any other questions about what we had with real estate gone wrong today? I always do that count. All right. Hey, I appreciate y'all. You know the thing to do. We got warm weather today. Go out and knock on doors. What the heck? Circle prospecting. 10-10-20. Send me all of your fun stuff, guys. There's nothing better than, Deanna sharing that with me. It was quite a while ago, and I put it in reserve, waiting for the right moment. And as I was going back, and this is how much I am on Hot Topic. I didn't determine this is what I was doing until yesterday in the morning, and I didn't get it finished until last night. So send me what you have going on. Send me your ideas. Send me what you think would be just, hey, with what's going on in the market right now, this would be a great one for us to talk about, just like we did last week with FinCEN. I'll run it from there. I appreciate you guys. Go be productive. Talk to people. See you
Thank
soon.
you, Darwin.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely welcome.